I'm asking our members to vote for this programme for government because I believe it's in tune with our core values and founding principles. That founding principle that we need ecological wisdom in decision making, public policy. And in this commitment, this 7% reduction, that is it, because that changes everything. And it's a scale of change beyond compare. 50% reduction in the next 10 years will change everything. It is radical and it is well timed. Because even to do anything at the end of this decade, we have to act now. And that's why I think Friends of the Earth and Stop Climate Chaos and Antashka have all supported it, saying the likes that this puts in place the building blocks for a low carbon transition. Secondly, it commits to a new land use plan where we plan rural communities and the development of all of Ireland. And within that, we also plan to restore biodiversity, which is as big a crisis as the climate one we face. And yes, we have to save and turn around to give a future for the Irish family farm, which also brings animal rights and animal welfare centre stage. And we look after our forest, our bogs, our water and soil. That's the scale of change we seek in that plan. And yes, it is transformative if we start spending on cycling, walking, what we want, to build communities, to improve our health, to actually save time, money and stress. That's real practical improvements in people's quality of life. That's what we're about. And yes, we need to change the economy. It has to be a circular economy with a waste reduction bill, but also it's a change in economics that is coming. We have to be careful we don't fight the last war. This is 2020, not 2007. Neoliberalism is in decline. The Green New Deal is on the rise, and we should use that rise to help our country be part of it, not to hold back from it. And it's not about financial conservatism. It's about borrowing massively for the next 3 or 4 years to get our people back to work and to save and help and protect our small businesses. And it's even after that, even if we're balancing our current spending, it's committing to balance borrowing and spending on capital, on public housing, public transport, public health, and climate action. I've heard no one disagree with that as the long-term ambition that the next government has to do. And it's not a but. There is no but between ecological justice and social justice. The two go together. One enhances the other. You cannot separate them. Humankind and the natural systems are all the one. We have to put them together. And I believe there are measures in this programme which allow us to do that. We will legislate the sort of just transition legislation that we couldn't get in opposition. We will now do it quickly. And yes, in carbon tax, we will design it so that it is socially progressive. So we will put that 3 billion in traditional social welfare protections to make sure that those are most at risk of fuel poverty are protected. That has to inform everything we do. And yes, in housing, we all agree, there's no but. We have to have a massive increase. What Bree just said there, that doubling of the housing output, public housing output, will bring us back to that sort of thing we did in the 60s when we saw we could do this, even when our economy wasn't as wealthy as it is now. And by being in government, before with the Land Development Agency not even legislated for, we can influence that. And we can go and fight site by site to say, yes, this is the right sort of housing for this place, including new innovative forms of public housing. And yes, when it comes to homes, we start with direct provision, giving everyone at their own door. Take time, but actually it's a principle behind where social and ecological justice go together, is every person matters, every place matters. We try and restore and protect and secure every home. That's what we're trying to do in this programme for government. Third principle, core value, non-violence in everything we do. We have an opportunity here. We changed the language in this programme for government in regard to what the future on this island is. It's a shared future is the title of the document, language we put in, and it's a shared island we're talking about when it comes to setting up a unit in the Department of Taoiseach to look at how we respond to what's happening in Brexit. So we live on this island, north and south in peace. And as an all-island party, as a party of non-violence and peace, we have a role to play there. I would like the Greens to be in the room when we start thinking of how we share this island. And similarly, I know my European colleagues would like the Greens to be in the European Council rooms, join often Green parties who are in far more difficult coalition arrangements than we're considering here. But we can be there, and actually in being there, affect what the climate policy of the European Union is, or what the digital policy is, or what the migration policy is. It's not just at home we can affect change. Using this leverage of being in government, you can actually help change the wider world. And why not, while we're on the Security Council, be there? Why not add our voice, add our influence for our vision in support of US peacekeeping, not military adventurism and a big arms race, in support of migration policies that isn't just defensive Europe, and making sure that we live by, put our values into any coalition arrangement. If we're not there, there's less chance of them being in the values of the government. Lastly, grassroots democracy is one of the core principles that we espouse. And I believe that's also, not in every aspect, but in a lot of elements of this, in that referendum to the right of housing, that's grassroots democracy, restoring common wealth and common purpose and common well-being. And people are critical, saying, oh, there's too much use of the Citizens' Assembly or too much use of commissions in housing or in tax and social welfare. Well, I actually think they're the sort of mechanisms we've always supported. We've seen how citizen assemblies can work. We've seen in the past how commissions are spending a bit of time to work out exactly the right policy, to think about the real solutions, admitting you don't know everything straight away, and you learn by bringing in the best experts and teasing it out and putting it back to the people. There's a lot of that in this programme for government, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. It's a bottom-up community change is what we need. We all talk about government, but actually we know in the transition it's going to have to come from the community, and it has to empower communities and empower local government and empower the individuals. We have to win over the Irish people to our way of thinking that it's going to be good for the Irish people. We serve them, and I believe we serve them by going into government. That's what we went to the people in the last election, saying we were willing to go in and that we would work with everyone, and that actually we don't believe in the politics of division at this moment in time, because the leap we have to make is so great that if we do it as a left versus right or young versus old or rural versus urban divided politics, it won't work. We have to win people over by rational argument and the passion of our arguments, but we have to win people over through politics, through engagement, through our democratic institutions of our state, which I believe in. They can work. We are 100 years at it as a democratic constitutional republic. I think it is the best way of trying to affect change, through peaceful, democratic, bottom-up politics with social justice and ecological wisdom at its core. I have one slight regret today. I've listened all day. It's been fantastic. And I would like to thank you, Hazel, and Maura, and Blaheen, and Martina, and Sinead, and Lawrence, and Tom, and the whole HQ crew. And I'd like to thank Catherine, and NASA, and Oisin, and Mark, and Roderick, and the negotiation team, and everyone else who took part. We had a really wide negotiation team. They really did work hard and work well. But I've one regret, as I said, is that maybe we didn't put this debate up online, because actually it restores my faith, which has always been there in the Green Party. It restores in the strength and wisdom in our party that I think we should apply to government now. And if you do think that too, please vote yes. There's no ifs, there's no buts. It's social justice and ecological justice together. That's what we do.